better. You can't get better than that. 'Cause we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that.
Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about.
Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. 'Cause we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that.
Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about.
Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. 'Cause we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that.
Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about.
Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. 'Cause we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that.
Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about.
Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. 'Cause we all do better when we all do better. You You can't get better than that.
Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about.
Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. Say we all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that.
Come on, y'all.
Don't belong here because my backgrounds don't work. It's whatever. Listen.
Yeah, we need to get your green screen up behind you at some point here, Rand.
That's a lot of work that I had. I gotta put my house back together from taking down my Christmas tree and all that other mess. So that'll be done in the next several days.
If you just put up your green screen, you don't have to worry about getting your house together. You guys have no idea what's behind my green screen.
That's the truth.
No, I mean I gotta get it back together. I gotta put my house back together so I have room to put up my green screen. I had to move a bunch of stuff all over the place to put up my Christmas tree, and now that the Christmas tree is down, I had to move all that stuff back there, and then move the table back, and then put up the green screen again.
Your tree is down already, huh?
Man, look,
we're taking ours down this weekend. It usually stays up until just after Split-ish. So now that that's over, we can get it down this weekend.
Yeah, man, it was a wrap for that. I said peace to my John.
I'll let you guys in on what's hidden behind my green screen, which is all the body yaddy 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 yaddy.
I knew it.
Wait, so does that mean that the car is a getaway car? The wrench-mobile, the wrench car?
Oh yeah. Yes, indeed. So what's up to Agnieszka tuning in, and Suze is on the block here. Parrish is in the building on the Twitch stream. Everybody tuning in, get on that chat and let us know what you want to talk about. Any questions for the Gangstagrass crew about how we're holding it together and what the future has in store. And
the answer to both questions, by the way, is chicken twine.
Chicken twine.
It's how we're holding it together, and it's what is in store in the future.
Truth.
A lot more chicken twine. Is that a thing? Did I make up chicken twine? Is that a real thing?
Is that? I mean, isn't it just regular twine?
Am I combining like chicken wire and like kitchen twine that you'd tie a chicken? I don't know.
I think you're combining chicken salt and I don't know, twine of some sort. I'm not sure.
Speaking of chicken salt, Randy, you care to tell them about that little invention I called you up about that I came up with in the kitchen the other day?
Oh wait, what was it? Hold on. You gotta remind me. It's been a couple days. You gotta remind me.
It involved French fries.
Oh, was that the French fries with the chicken salt?
No, remember I was cutting up some potatoes and I made fries, but I also had some chicken bouillon powder.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes.
Oh, that is some mad MSG.
That I salted the fries with instead of salt. The regular salt, that is.
Yeah.
Chicken bouillon fries. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna have to get tried. That is
I
gonna
was
have to
getting
get
into some.
tried.
I was getting into some dairy-free cheeses recently for dietary reasons, and you know, a lot of the dairy-free cheese, it all comes down to some form of basically the same stuff that's in chicken bouillon. Like you get that little bit of like MSG umami stuff,
Mhm.
and I'll tell you what, it gets it done. Whether you're talking about gooey umami, powdered umami, it's in there somewhere.
I'm gonna tell you again, and I'm not telling anybody else this ever again.
We're streaming on 3 platforms, Randy.
Then I'm gonna tell all of y'all again, and I will probably have to tell y'all again because y'all don't listen. You can make up whatever kind of dairy-free stuff you want.
Mhm.
It needs its own name. Dairy-free cheese is not a thing.
Yeah.
What
We
if
will
you
take
spell it with a
suggestions in the
Z?
chat about what should you call dairy substitutes for various kinds of meat.
Whatever you like.
Same name.
You can call it whatever you like, but the very definition of a cheese requires that it be this thing, that thing, that thing, this thing, and one of those things is this dairy-based thing. Otherwise, you that's like calling me, like, let's say I decided one day I wanted to be a tree. Like, I know, even if I stand in the woods and hold up leaves, I'm not a motherfucking tree.
Are you saying because you don't have
You are
cellulose?
green though.
I am
Yeah.
green, true, but I'm not a tree.
Right.
You're inadvertently making the argument that you are an acceptable substitute for a tree.
Nope, I'm not. Not at all.
You're not. You're not.
No
And you
matter how
can't-
much
you
I,
can't
no
really-
matter how much I would want to be.
That's right. There's no such thing as like switching to be a tree because you have not had the lived experiences of a tree to
That's right.
step into.
Exactly. Almonds ain't got titties.
So
Almond
for
milk's
everybody
not a
out there,
thing.
for everybody out there in the chat, send us in. What do you think vegetarians, vegans should use as names so that they're not calling their stuff chicken? I'll put it out right here, right now, for clarity. Maybe that the vegetarian version of everything should just be an ermagerd. So if you see something called churkin, then you know what's up. Or burf.
Birth.
Burf. Oh, that's so.
I'm a big fan of just spelling it wrong.
Yeah, but we already have cheese with a Z,
Yeah.
and that is cheese.
Yeah, if
No, it's
It's
it's a homophone, then it doesn't count.
Well, what if it's really close? Like, what's it? Corn with a
Corn.
Q and a U?
That's not even a meat. That's just like some other vegetable that is not even made out
Listen, The Simpsons
protein.
nailed it 30 years ago with Malk.
of milk. Yeah.
And I think
remember
it
we had milk. Remember we had milk.
milk.
What if
We
what
did
if you
have
made
milk.
cheese?
That's just regional.
Did anybody ever make cheese with either malk or milk? What would you call that?
I
Yeah. What
think
if you made it
nobody
with?
ever did.
What if you made it with almond milk? And how do you feel about almond milk? Does that
Oh,
need
yeah,
a
Randy.
different name?
Yeah, we
too?
do have a couple questions coming in. Harry on Facebook, Harry Palmer. What nice name? Wants to know. Question for the guy.
Oh, come on.
International tour this year if the world goes back to normal. I mean, that's the big question is, yes, if things were back to normal, we would be on the road right now. But the question is, how long is that going to be and how do you decide when it's fully safe again? So we're hanging back for now. Like we want to get out there so badly and play concerts for you guys. Get out, to Europe, the UK, Japan, Morocco,
Brazil.
Iceland, Brazil, everywhere. But for now we can't. Once it's truly back to being possible, we will be doing anything that is possible for us to do.
That's right. And I think I just want to add one thing, that if you put almonds in a blender, you should probably call it juice.
I'm fine with that.
That seems fair.
Almond juice, I'm okay with. Oat juice, soy juice, all that. Cool. You can
The
do that.
problem is
That's
none
fine.
of those things have juice. So it's closer to being like a tea or an aid.
Well,
maybe
if
like
it's a
almond
tea, you'd have to
aid.
steep it.
I'm okay
And
with
don't
aid.
skip almonds.
Oat aid,
Oat
almond
aid,
aid.
soy aid, all of that
It would
stuff.
be an aid
works.
if you added sugar, but they don't always necessarily add sugar. Some of them don't have sugar. So then what do you got left?
Make something up.
What about how about like watered pulp?
Fine.
Uh,
Any of that works.
But you
ain't
strain the
milk.
pulp out.
Man,
Right,
we're,
so it's
we're
water.
going hard. We're going hard tonight on the difficult conversations.
Yeah.
It ain't milk, is what I'm
It's
saying.
been
gotta keep
such
it
a
real.
hard week.
Undercover
You gotta-
Tourist on the YouTube channel is wondering how the band came together.
Very carefully.
Yes, indeed. The band was assembled over several years of finding people that had the brilliance and the genius to be able to rock with this group. I'm Wrench. I'm the mastermind. They kicked it off with some ridiculous fun experiments in the studio, and then had to go and turn it into a live band. And I found these jokers.
That's right.
Now
It
here we
was-
are.
It was Dolio. Dolio hopped on first, right?
hmm Yeah, I've been working with Dolio in a honky tonk hip hop band called B Star.
Check it out.
Here to this.
They found me on the street.
They found me on Craigslist.
Yeah. Yep. We soon to be back on MySpace, I hope.
Yes.
We see everybody there.
Do you see MySpace is trending now on
Yep.
Twitter?
Yeah, since Trump got banned on.
He got
Is
banned
that
on
where he's
everything.
going? He's going to
Yeah.
MySpace?
Trying to set up his mind.
Apparently they made Friendster back online just so that they could ban Trump. So,
Wow. That's
Uh,
low. Do you think that he's not friends with Tom anymore
no.
on MySpace?
Nope,
I
nope.
feel like that dude has to be friends with everybody, but I don't know.
There are
You think,
exceptions.
you think Tom has a line?
There are, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing with us. Like, this is the band that's like, hey, we can still be friends. We can all party together. We can handle differences. We can reach across the aisle. But there are lines that you can't be part of the party. If you're crossing certain lines, you're not part of the party, and that's the word.
Well, I mean, let's be a little more specific about that.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say,
Okay, you
right,
can't be a part of this party if you're also a part of the Nazi party.
Yeah,
True.
right. Assuming you
instance.
understand what that means. I mean, it's possible maybe you misunderstand it, and we can still have a conversation. But if you're committing violent acts or inciting violent acts against people, just in general, that's going to be a problem.
Or
If you don't-
advocating.
or advocating.
If you read the terms and conditions, understood them, and then still clicked "I accept,"
Mhm.
we're
It-
probably not going to get along.
I would say this. I think that there's a lot of different opinions about how to create a diverse country where everybody coexists and is able to thrive. That are not all the same opinions. And there's people that I disagree with about policy that I think are disagreements about how to get to a country where everybody is included and has opportunities and thrives. But there's ideologies where that's not your goal. If you're what you're talking about is how to create something for just a particular set of people, or defend your thing from some other group, then we are no longer going to the same party, because there's no trying to find common ground on that.
Does that spell it out enough, Sleeves? Or
I mean, I would just add, respecting everyone's unalienable rights, right? So you have to respect everybody's right to life and liberty, and the sort of fundamentals. I feel like it's pretty well covered in the First Amendment and the Declaration of Independence. There are other problems elsewhere in those founding documents, but those two pieces I feel like cover what we're talking about pretty well. Fundamental, everybody's fundamental human rights, and kind of the whole self-regarding acts thing, right? Just that as long as your exercise of your liberties, what you think are your liberties, is not impinging upon somebody else's life and liberty, then you're good. And I feel like people have a lot of misconceptions about what rights mean. Like, it's not your right to, like, park in a particular place. That might be a privilege that you enjoy, but there's a big difference between what, you know, what rights people actually have and what they like. It's not your right in a democracy. And I realize I'm going out on a limb here with a lot of the people who are in my city right now, but it's not your right in a democracy for the person that you voted for to get elected. It is your right for the people who are elected to respect your rights and protect those unalienable rights, to protect your life and liberty. But it is not your right to have whoever you voted for be elected, because that system would not work.
And for helpful context, we should probably mention that we are Americans. So we're talking about our country in particular here, I think, and Sleeves, your city is you're referring to DC.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of specific context for us, but we've seen a little bit of the outside world, and we like to think that some of this stuff applies to everybody on a pretty basic level. We just happen to have these guiding documents that we refer to every now and then.
Here, here.
Update from Harry Palmer. He is in Portsmouth in the UK, which we had a blast last time we were there.
Yeah, shout out.
We want to go back to Portsmouth
I was just
so
thinking
bad.
about Portsmouth.
That was a great show and a great audience. That was just fantastic. So
That was great. That
we'll
was great.
definitely be going back there when we can.
Yeah.
Oh, that was one of those jaw-dropping shows where, like, hundreds of people, I mean, we have, you know, plenty of shows, hundreds of people show up, hundreds of people singing the songs, you know,
Yeah.
like actually on the chorus of "You Can Never Go Home Again." Amazing.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out. I wish I remember
Something in
the
a
dude's
place that
name.
we haven't played before.
Yeah, one of you guys will remember this for sure, but the promoter, what was that guy's name for Square Room Productions?
Oh my God.
He was great.
Paul?
Help me out. Well, it might have been Paul, but the promoter for that show, there are promoters who, first of all, there are promoters who don't do their job, and then there's promoters that just, like, do their job, like, all right, I put up some posters so you can clearly see I sort of tried. And then there are, like, just really go above and beyond, you know, the promoters that, like, clearly I mean, we hugged that dude he brought a lot of happy people to that show, but he might have been the happiest out of everybody to see us there, and that means a lot. So just shout out to the promoters that really care. We can tell, you know, it makes a difference to us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, I miss Portsmouth.
That was
I
great.
don't remember what town it was. I feel like it might have been Portsmouth, where that night we stayed in a let's see, it wasn't a travel lodge. It was the hotel where all the rooms are, like, a double bed on the bottom and a single bunk bed above. It's like the
it might have
Closet
been
Hotel.
Portsmouth. I was thinking about that too. I've been thinking a lot about UK today. Let me see if I can look it up. I saved all this stuff.
Awesome.
My map is littered with pins.
And we were booked to have a UK tour in September of last year, which could not be, and the whole thing was shifted over to September 2021. And, you know, we're just looking at that right now, you know, with the new strains going on and countries going in and out of lockdown. You know, it's still a touch and go situation. But it sure would be nice to get back there.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it because due to the pandemic and my the fact that if I get takeout, I, like, basically recook all of it, and you can't really recook McDonald's. I mean, people might argue with me on that one, but, like, for my personal preferences, that is a not great thing to do.
Okay, but where are you going with this?
So here, Dan, you won't remember it because you went to sleep, but you only went to sleep after insisting that we all go out and get food. So it was it was after the show. We'd gotten back to the hotel and you were like, I'm really hungry. Let's go. There's this, like, it's probably a kebab place, as it often was, you know, and we're like, we're going to walk to this kebab place. It's going to be great. Everybody meet in the lobby.
Oh yeah, that was in Exeter, I believe.
No, that was a different time. Yes,
Yeah,
that
no,
also happened in
I think I know
Exeter.
the time you're talking about, but go ahead. I think it was fish and chips.
Different
It
kebab
also
adventure?
happened in London. No, I think London, let's see. I want to say London was the fish and chips. Anyway, there were a bunch.
No,
this
London
happened
was
several
London was
times.
Pies. London was that pie shop, but the fish and chips was early on, and it wasn't necessarily All right, now I got to find the fish and chips place you're talking about. So anyway, finish the story, because I think I know where you're going with this.
So
even though you didn't know where I was going at the time.
right. So we all get down to the lobby, like, you know, at least Dolio and I are down there, and we're having some random conversation with whatever other random travelers are there, and we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting, and finally Rand comes down, and he goes, "Yeah, Dan's going to bed." And so, like, we've done all of it, you know, we're like, all right, fine. So we're not going to wherever it was that Dan wanted us to go, but we're still, you know, we're up, we're ready. So we walked across a fairly big street, but it was just down the road over to a McDonald's.
Oh my gosh, that McDonald's.
Oh, yo, that McDonald's.
Yo, they had real plates.
Real plates.
Silverware, waiters.
It was nuts. Yeah, you missed this, Dan, because you went to bed.
This is one of those stories you
And
tell.
all the food
just to
looked
mess with me.
exactly
This is
like
made
it
up.
did in the picture.
true.
Like, maybe even better.
It was beautiful. We go
Oh.
up to the counter and we order our food, and then we like go and sit down to, you know, wait for it. And next thing we know, as we're sitting there at the table, and if there was a fan from that show at the table, who we sat down with, and
We said it's fries.
yes.
Wow,
And then
big
next
shit.
thing you know,
Vince's milkshake.
these people come over with full on, honest to goodness plates, like ceramic plates.
You even had plates.
with our food all arranged gorgeously, and like put
With
them down in
actual
front of us, so they
silverware.
knew who we were. They didn't like
You're
ask.
talking
There
about
was
a
no
waiter?
table
They
number
had
or
a
anything.
waiter?
I mean,
Yeah.
it was so delicious.
All right. I'll tell you what. I remember by looking at the map. First of all, Portsmouth.
Okay.
We were staying at an Ibis or Ibis.
That's what it is. The
budget-
ibises. Yep, that's right.
Ibis
Yeah.
budget Portsmouth Hotel.
Yep.
Across the street there is a McDonald's, and the problem is that I was trying to get like either kebab or fish and chips or something, but at that time like they were all closing. All the places I wanted to go to were closing, and I think like it was just taking just long enough, or they were just far away enough, and somebody was like, "Oh, we can't walk, that's too far," and then I was just like, "Screw this, they're closed anyway, I'm gonna go to bed." And then the only option left was McDonald's, which apparently was good enough. Apparently actually was good enough. I had no idea.
Yeah, McDonald's
Plates
was
and
actually kind of
waiters.
ill. It
All
was
right,
actually pretty dope.
I gotta not dismiss McDonald's next time.
No, yeah, like overseas McDonald's
overseas.
are kind of
Oh,
dope.
yeah.
Yes.
For some reason, the overseas version of American fast food is phenomenally better. It's like ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
to the point
gas
to where
station food.
usually I eat if I have to resort to eating fast food, I regret it.
Yeah.
But
And like the gas
we
station
all
food
left
in Belgium, was it? I think when we were in
Yeah.
Belgium, we stopped at a gas station and there was freshly cooked sausage and all kinds of other things that I forget, but I remember the sausage.
Yep.
Really
I remember. I can picture that place in Belgium, because we were
Right?
basically just passing through. We had just taken the Channel, that we were on the Channel
Yep.
train, the Euro train. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. But I think the reason that the McDonald's and the fast food in general, at least in Europe, is better is because they have the EU. So we'll see what happens to the UK now. To the UK McDonald's, but they have higher food standards. There's like things that they're just not allowed to put in the food, you know, that we totally do.
Well, my optimistic hope is that once people are aware of how good things can be, even if it's not required by law, the people will demand it, and then either they will legislate to make it a thing, or market pressure will combine to force it to be a thing anyway. And, you know, I'm really thinking of a lot of stuff in our own country that sort of seems to go that way slowly, but eventually. So who knows? Maybe, you know, once they're not bound by EU regulations, they'll realize that, you know, everybody wants it to be good anyway, so let's just keep doing it good.
They will bring back their own sausages, though, because they were pretty mad about the whole having to call it the British sausage thing. And Suze in the Facebook chat said next time you guys go to the UK, might get over there for your shows. And we've had a bunch of fans come over for the UK shows. You know, Linda and the whole crew came to one of the London shows, and it was
Martha, Alice. Yeah, folks came and they joined me at the pie shop. Man, we had pies.
Yeah.
Pies were so good too.
Yeah.
So good.
So,
What were we talking about before the McDonald's story?
Anything else that is more information about Gangstagrass on tour than you ever thought you needed to know?
Yeah.
Feel free to ask.
I mean, I got my map right here. Like, I could pull up any random pin and just start talking about it.
Yeah, I do love the tour stories, but but we'll probably sort of shift back and forth because you can't talk entirely about the disaster unfolding in our democratic republic. You gotta also think about the good things, like how yummy McDonald's is in Portsmouth.
Yep. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah. But apparently, I'm seeing in one of the chats that the West Virginia delegate who, Victoria, our dear wonderful Victoria, from the Mountain Stage family, was telling me during the insurrection that one of the people in there was one of their West Virginia delegates, and apparently, according to our chat, that guy just got arrested.
Yeah.
A few hours ago.
Facing federal charges. Yep.
As well as he should.
Does happen occasionally.
Yes.
I'm just shocked that the West Virginia delegate turned out to be an Antifa agent.
That's right. That's
Wild,
right. That's right. Along with horned tattooed guy, and guy taking selfie with the cops.
Yeah, but to flip it around just for a second, right? Because we keep it mixed, we keep it light. West Virginia apparently is I was just hearing this earlier, is outperforming all the other states in administering their vaccines. And
they have to. They're in a severe outbreak.
What's that?
They have to. They're in a really severe outbreak.
Although I think Tennessee is in the most severe, right?
Tennessee and West Virginia are both in the category of most severe. Yeah, but I think Tennessee is possibly the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting to me about West Virginia, though, apparently they don't have enough CVS's and Walgreens to do it that way, and so they've had to figure out their own way to administer it themselves through other avenues. So it's just interesting that they have to do that, and then they end up outperforming.
What are they doing? Do you know? I mean, are they using like school gymnasiums or setting up tents?
Known administering sites. I don't know, medical avenues. I'm not really sure, but like I don't know. And honestly, I'm just like totally imagining this now. But like, I mean, we've all been to West Virginia, right? Like, the structure of West Virginia is it's a small state, but you could be surprisingly isolated.
Right.
In there, it's very mountainous, and you've got these holler communities. You've got these
French mountains going down there. Well, like you're on one side of the mountain, getting to somebody that's just on the other side of the mountain is a whole windy, twisty road through nothing but mountain.
Yeah, you're physically cut off. Add to that, you have to bear in mind what that does to like cellular communication. You get pretty bad reception there. It's a place with its own interesting challenges, and so obviously, like, the people who might be best suited to figure out how to address that are probably the people who've grown up there. Not to romanticize it or anything, but it's a unique place, and I'm really thankful that we've spent time there. I'm just thinking specifically of that one time when we were going up and down, and I'm sure it was West Virginia.
Yeah, it was coming from the Purple Fiddle.
We were behind a vehicle going like 40 miles an hour, and it was an ambulance, and I think they had their lights on. Maybe I might be adding that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember it definitely seemed like they were on, they were on call for something, but those windy roads, you can't just speed down those, so you're braking all the time, and there's nothing else to turn off onto. Like, you're just going to be driving for a long time.
Yeah, like, we're looking at this car, and it's like, this is an ambulance. They're going top speed, which is 35, 40 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they're not driving any faster, we're certainly not going to, like, pass them and think that we know better, because we're probably going to end up in the ambulance. Yeah, it just really shows you, like, it's a different place.
Tying into this, Joe in the YouTube chat wants to know about the premise behind the song Mountaintop. Which was a song that was brought in by Brandy Hart, vocalist that we worked with, and she was certainly talking about mountaintop removal, which is an issue that we've had the chance to travel to West Virginia and Kentucky and look at sites and try to educate ourselves about the pros and cons and the issues with mountaintop removal. And we've been involved in that. So it was appropriate for us to have a song, and Brandy Hart wrote
Hey, Alex,
something from her experience living in the area about mountaintop removal. And it made a lot of sense to take that to Tomasia, who had done such an amazing job on a previous song about coal mining issues, a song called Big Range. And so, again, Tomasia brought out some incredible rhymes to do the verses on that and bring it on together. But it is something that is really something really unique that we have the chance to do in this band, is to be traveling around the country and looking at how different communities in the country do have different issues with access to resources, with access to different opportunities and different situations that they're trying to live through, and seeing that it's not always the same, but people do kind of, are grappling with different issues in their quest to live their freest, most opportunity-filled lives, and trying to overcome a lot of structural stuff in that. And for rural folks, some of the specific issues are different. For urban folks, some of the specific issues are different. And we get to see how it doesn't make sense from our vantage point, once we've seen that, to see how much people think they're really divided on that they think it's sort of rural versus urban, that somehow, the people in rural areas think, oh, the folks in the cities have it all made, they've got it so good, and we're neglected and left behind. And the people in the cities thinking that's where all the poverty is, and thinking that the rural folks have all this privilege. And we've seen so many issues in different places that come up in different ways. So this is one example of that, of being able to see in mining communities where the mining jobs are going away, where their community has been polluted by mountaintop removal, and the things that they're trying to deal with in that. And we also talked to some organizations like Kentuckians for the Commonwealth, who have been trying to promote the idea of new alternatives for places like Kentucky, to try to find new ways for them to have an economy that thrives once coal mining is gone, because its days are numbered, and have proactive solutions to that, which is something that we would like to include in songs more. That was some of the feedback from them, was like, this is a great song about problems, and it would be nice to also sometimes shout out all the work that's done to try to make changes as well, and the opportunity for the future to get better. So we want to look at some of that too, moving forward.
Yeah.
Here.
I just said a lot of words.
Well, it's important, and that's something that this band is really excellent about. It's about getting the word out about those kinds of specific projects, but also the issues in general, about mountaintop removal, and clean water is another huge one for this band as well. And maintaining our democratic republic and individuals' rights, and Black Lives Matter, and there's a lot of good to be done in the world. And it's great that you can make a song where we've got folks in the Facebook chat, Kelly saying that Mountaintop's a great song, and it's a great song, and it also tells you something. If you're listening to those words, you're really learning something important.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, it makes me think about songwriting a little bit, just about sort of the balances. This is not something that I think about usually when I sit down to write a song. It's more after the fact, analyzing what the hell did I just write. But I think to try to get this right, when you have a message in a song, you want to be balancing, I guess, generality with specificity, if that makes sense. And you know, part of the strength of this band is that we get to listen to each other and to so many people, and that, you know, ideally, like with Mountaintop, you know, it means that it leads us to these conversations that we can really be thinking about, you know, are we saying something that's, you know, too specific, or maybe too broad, you know, and that's just something that I feel like we try to keep in mind. Like clean water, for instance, that's you know, it's broad, but boy, it's probably not going to change. You're probably not going to look back in 10 years and say, oh boy, talking about clean water, that just seems so outdated. I mean, now that everyone has clean water and it's totally not an issue at all, or, you know, well, we don't really need clean water anymore. Like, shoot, that's not something that's ever going to change.
We
And a lot
started
of
making
this-
almond water. We don't need it.
Oh, you're right. Well, it's funny you say that because almond milk is a huge drain on water resources to grow and then make the almond milk. But I digress. No, so like clean water would be one example, and another example might be like mass incarceration, where you don't want to make it too specific about any particular experience, but you want to just open the issue up for conversation, and you want to just say, hey, here's some stuff that's going on. Can't deny it. It is happening. Obviously, songwriters have a choice of how to frame things, so you might conveniently leave some things out. Maybe you forgot. Maybe you just aren't aware of some things. But that to me is just one of the most rewarding things about the way that we do songwriting in this band, because it kind of relates back to how we're all trying to figure out how to have these conversations in our country, at least. How to talk to each other, how to frame an issue or a message, you know, compose a really witty Facebook post or something. Because it really shouldn't be about posts after all. It should really be about conversations. And I feel like our songs are less about having a really nicely crafted manifesto and more about having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, I mean, that's why I love having a band with MCs. Like, I love being in a band with MCs, and I get to sing something and then have the next thing that happens be a rap verse, and a really good rap verse. It massively enriches like everything that I do, and on a level that goes deeper than the music. So that's my words.
Mm-hmm.
World,
Actually,
you stay classy, San Diego.
Yeah.
speaking of words, we've been talking about doing kind of segments and stuff in this team stream. You know, a lot of basically what you're getting is sort of the conversations that we would be having anyway. And, you know, sometimes we bring in special guests, and sometimes it's just us. But we've definitely been talking about having some segments. So we'd love to hear from you guys about what segments you think would be good, and, you know, what you would look forward to checking out. And I'm going to throw one out there. I think that we should have a segment every week where our son does a freestyle about, it could be about anything. I'm not gonna put him in a box, although we are all in boxes, but, you know, ideally about, like, you know, what's going on, just like a free, you know, a freestyle about. So I would love to have a freestyle segment.
What's going
News and
on?
freestyle.
We got freestyle the news.
Freestyle the news.
We have a lot of excellent conversation going on in the Facebook chat about the mountaintop stuff, and you know, Morgantown, PA, and Pikesville, Kentucky. People talking about the rural poverty out there, and a couple shout outs. Kelly Alcoin is in the
Kelly, what's up,
chat.
guys?
Kelly is joining us in, and in the Twitch chat, Zarlog TV is somebody in the Czech Republic who saw us playing at the Colors of Ostrava festival in the Czech Republic.
Ostrava, what up?
Yeah,
What's going on? Czech Republic, man, that was one of the best times ever.
that was
One of
great.
the best times ever. I'm like,
That was actually one of the most magical space unicorn adventures Randy and I had.
oh my god, of all time. I have to bring this up because in the midst of all the crazy that's going on, there's some really, really funny stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
The Olive Garden put out a statement today.
Oh no.
At Olive Garden, we're all family here. Our traditions, like unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks, have been enjoyed by many guests all over the country and throughout the entire political spectrum. It has come to our attention that a few of our guests had taken part in the vicious attack on our nation's capital. We've worked with the FBI and the Holiday Inn in Washington, D.C. to identify several guests who both frequented our restaurants and participated in the violent uprising against our government.
No kidding.
Don't say where
yeah.
this is going.
Wait.
Don't say where this is going.
In response,
No.
Olive Garden has invalidated our never-ending pasta pass for several guests and revoked a lifetime pasta pass from Sean Hannity.
That is an incentive structure right there.
Olive Garden is dedicated to creating a safe and delightful environment for our guests with what we call hospitaliano. This year has been difficult for many of us, and we cannot wait to see your family smiling in our restaurants once again. Until that time, your favorite dishes from Olive Garden are available to order online for both pickup and delivery.
And
I'm full of confusing feelings.
shit just got real. Hannity lost his pasta pass. Like, this is...
Bro, I fell down when I saw this, dude.
Bro, I was bugging that Chuck E. Cheese made a statement.
Yeah, man.
What?
I think they did one
Yeah.
first, I think. I'm only hearing about the Olive Garden one just now.
Oh, I missed the Chuck E.
It
Cheese
wasn't
one.
as dramatic. They didn't, like, kick Hannity out of the ball pit or anything like that. Though
Bro,
they probably should have.
I saw this, man. I could
I'm
not
in the ball
breathe.
pit.
I laughed about this for 10 minutes. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, the FBI, Holiday Inn, and Olive Garden.
Mm-hmm.
What?
America.
What?
Well, you
That's
know,
the most American shit ever.
you know where that came from, though? The whole Olive Garden thing came from Anderson Cooper being like, all these rioters storming the Capitol are going to go back to Olive Garden and their Holiday Inn and talk about how fun it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought about that, and like,
Then everybody started ragging on Olive Garden.
Shit.
you know, I have an uncle who is somewhat sympathetic to this stuff, and I know that he and my aunt have still been going to the Olive Garden. Like, that is so I feel that, and I feel like it's been bugging me because I feel like that's such a dangerous thing to do, you know, to be inside of a restaurant. So I'm going to tell them that Olive Garden did this, and either it will start a good conversation or it will stop them from endangering themselves by going to Olive Garden. Either way, I feel like that's a good outcome.
There's a third option, Sleeves.
Uh-oh.
I hate to tell you
Uh-oh.
about it, but there's other options. But good luck.
Okay, thank you.
I just know that they was revoking fools never-ending pasta
So
passes. So I was
great.
like, what?
You get your pasta pass taken away for being Sean Hannity.
There are consequences for your actions.
Like,
Right.
I'm hoping that the FBI went to these people's houses, and as they were arresting them, there was a guy there from Olive Garden that was going through the water, like, give me that. And just bounced with a pasta pass in his hand, mad.
Yeah.
Like, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Either that or that dude is just online, like, we're going to get rid of this fool. This, we're going to get rid of you out of here.
I will say this, though. Like, I'm actually not feeling like this is all necessarily going in the wrong direction, because I feel like a lot of fools are being, coming out as fools. And a lot of mainstream stuff is like, yeah, that's some foolish shit right there. And so, it does kind of feel like the momentum is still in a certain direction where the really, like, the really intolerable folks that don't want diversity and dealing with other people are kind of they're trying to cling on, but this is their clinging on to being on sort of the losing side of where things are going.
Yeah. Also,
Because
they're
if Olive
clinging on
Garden
to the
is revoking
Capitol
your
Wall.
pasta pass, you are on the losing side of whatever's going on.
Look, man, if you, all I'm saying is at the on the lowest level, at the absolute lowest level of any of this, if you're on the Capitol steps with a Confederate flag, you need to be charged with treason. Period. That's it. That's the bottom line. Like, no, we already fought this war 100 plus years ago. They lost.
But I gotta wonder, though.
You repping the seditionists on the floor of the Capitol says you were about the idea of sedition. Therefore,
Also, the
Treason.
fact that you're standing on the Capitol floor.
But I gotta wonder though, counterpoint, and this is that
Like, it was
kind of
supposed to
thing
be
where
in
when you
session.
talk about like pardoning somebody, like to pardon someone implies that they were guilty, but then they're pardoned. I wonder if like you charge somebody for having a Confederate flag as treason, wouldn't that legitimize that like the Confederacy is a legitimate faction, which it is not because they lost.
Yeah.
And,
But you're still repping that shit. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Like,
you could rep like
it's still,
Skeletor.
it's still. I mean, it obviously it still exists in the minds of these folks, right?
Right.
So
absolutely.
fine. You want to hold on to that? Cool. Then all of that shit that came with it, you get all that,
Right.
This is
all that stuff.
This is tricky though, because this brings me to like flag burning, which I have always firmly supported, right? Because you have to hold the freedom of speech above the symbol of the freedom.
That's different though.
And-
And I think the only reason I think it's different is regardless of how you feel about the flag itself, right? This is a thing that has been chosen to represent the entire nation. When you decide that you're going to follow an another nation's flag that already fought against this particular nation, then you've made the decision that this nation is not what you want to rep. Cool. That's fine. You're allowed to do that. But if the idea was we are going to separate from this continental nation, right, and create our own thing, and we're going to fight a war over that, and then you lost, right? Once you lost, but you still want to rep that, fine. Then your job is you get to deal with all of those consequences. You know what I'm saying? And you can burn your Confederate flag all you want. I don't give a fuck about that. You and from my personal standpoint, burn the American flag if that's how you feel. I don't give a fuck. You ain't hurting me. But what I'm saying is, once you decide that the banner that represents you is particularly one that we went to war against, fuck it. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It is a wrap.
I mean, a little bit more concerning was the fact that there were people flying a Nazi flag.
Yeah.
Sure.
What? Wait, where?
And also, yeah, I can't figure out where Dolio is either.
Did
He
you go back
definitely
in
went
time?
outside.
It's like the sun is up, you're outside. I'm confused. And
Doc Brown is
No. I am.
for the saloon.
Hold a second.
We always knew, Dolio got the 3D printer and we were like, now he creates the time machine.
That would explain why we have two Dolios on this call, for one thing.
okay. All right.
But yeah, Rand, I think you touched on it with consequences, right? Like it on some level it could sort of not matter, maybe morally, like people do whatever you want, but as long as there will be appropriate consequences.
Yeah, do what you want.
And a lot of this stuff needs maybe, more consequences than we've already had. Today, for instance, just in the past few hours, there's been like a major ban on at least Twitter of, other than Michael Flynn, there's been a whole bunch of QAnon accounts that have been purged. Let's see, Trump got suspended on Twitter, and Google Play apparently has temporarily suspended the Parler app just entirely. It's just off of there. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff happening right now. It seems like today might be kind of a big day where the companies have finally turned around and said, no more never-ending pasta for you. We've had enough. Consequences. There will be consequences.
Okay, see, for me personally,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about Parler, but I think that might be a step too far.
What, taking
Taking
Parler off of
pasta
Google
away?
Play?
No, or maybe not. I mean, because as Google as a private company, they can, they determine what. All right, so fine. Like if there was a some sort of government mandate that said no more Parler, that I would have an issue with. Like, nah, we're not.
Yeah,
fucking
that's
with
not
that.
what this
That's
is.
crazy.
But of course, social media isn't a public utility, but maybe it should be because we keep looking at it like, well, this is the place to go. It's like a water spout. Like, you turn the handle and you get your free speech, and you get your right to assemble and you get your virtual space. So maybe social media on some level needs to be regulated like a public utility. It's not. And as long as it's not, we can have this conversation and say, oh, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want. But in the back of our head, I wonder if we're thinking of it as a different thing, because it is.
I mean, it makes me see that they're making those moves because they realize that it's very bad for business to show that they are doing business with these companies. Because it would mean that people would start to look for other service providers for various things.
Right. You got to wonder, at what point did they say, well, it's good business to be having this app because a lot of people use it, and then eventually flipped over to say, well, it's good business in this way, but it's worse business because it's driving off all the people that don't like Nazis. So no more of that.
Yeah.
But how many companies are making that decision? And again, companies aren't legislators, right? Like, companies, we can laugh about it, but if Olive Garden is the person, is the company is the organization that is disciplining Sean Hannity more than anybody else, I mean, that's kind of an indictment of the rest of the system, maybe. Although if he hasn't broken any laws, then he shouldn't necessarily be charged. But I feel like we as the consumers ultimately have a lot of responsibility to say, no, Sean Hannity, you're bad, and I don't want to watch your show.
Well,
it's not just about the show. It's about the sponsors. You start punishing the sponsors of the shows, and then they don't want to sponsor those shows anymore.
Sure.
Just like a lot of things, you start seeing a lot of the cities where you're seeing actual reform in police departments. It's because there's been coordinated effort focused on the insurance companies that insure these departments.
Why, Dolio, you almost make it sound like people didn't just spontaneously choose to be good.
Oh no, power only concedes the power. They have to be punished before they actually do react.
right. That is literally how fire safety happened in cities, when the insurance companies were just like, if you don't take certain fire safety precautions, we will not insure your buildings, period. And that, made it so that there were fewer fires in big cities.
The way that happened was that enough people died.
Yeah. Yep.
American history. It's Friday night with Gangstagrass.
I will also say this, though, as an activist and somebody who believes in protest, in direct action, in all kinds of freedoms that we enjoy when we're not happy with a policy or something, that there's a lot of freedoms that I support, even for people that I disagree with. And I'm more interested in focusing on the fact that they're actually wrong. They're acting on incorrect information, and their motivation is coming from a place that we need to disagree with. Because I can't say that there would not be a situation where I would support storming the Capitol if I say storm the Bastille if it's the Bastille. But currently that's not the Bastille, so they got the wrong thing going on. And I've been to places where buildings were occupied in order to make certain demands. But I think how you see this is colored by how you feel about the demands that are being made, which may not be based on things that we agree with, because I certainly don't.
Well, that kind of leads back to the flag discussion a little bit, which is just, like, personally, I feel a lot of discomfort with the idea of assuming that a symbol equates a particular crime, so if you do commit a treasonous act, and I do feel like storming and vandalizing the Capitol, and certainly planting bombs in the Capitol, counts as such a thing. It's absolutely terrorism. But the flag itself, that feels to me like not that we have to be so careful about criminalizing speech. We're in a place where I'm more open to that possibility than I have ever been in my life, just because of how dangerous we can see that the proliferation of misinformation is, but we still, it is better to fight speech than with charging people with treason and throwing them into jail. If they're doing treasonous things, fine, but just assuming a symbol is treason, I feel like is a little.
Yeah, I don't know what's more treasonous than taking the flag of a seditious nation onto the steps of the capital of a nation. Like, I don't know what it, like, after storming said capital.
Storming said capital, yes, but expressing.
But even if
an
you wasn't one
opinion,
of the dudes
however
that was knocking
misguided.
on the door, if you just kind of strolled in there carrying your flag, like, yo, dog, you came in here doing this. Like, nah. You can't be like, well, I was just chilling in the back, and it just happened to have my Confederate flag out, and just kind of stroll on there after the doors was up. Nah, bro. No.
That was a plan.
Nope. At the very least, you get treason-like sentences.
Yeah.
You know what's
the
interesting?
flag itself was not the crime.
Exactly.
The crime was already in commission.
Exactly.
And also,
It's just like you have the right to possess a farm. You have the right to bear and keep arms, except for in the process of committing a crime.
True.
Like, I'm fairly certain once all the information comes out about the young lady that got shot, anybody that was in that area should be charged with felony murder. Because the way felony murder statutes work, if you're in the process of committing a felony and somebody dies in the process of the commission of that felony, regardless of how they died, the fact that she got smoked by the cops, that's your fault. You can get charged with that. And Matt, listen, it's a whole lot of young brothers that's in jail right now on felony murder charges because they was hanging out with their man, and they man smoked somebody, and they was driving or whatever else, and they was like, skirt, felony murder. All of y'all going to jail. Guess what?
There are people who found the end of a needle at the behest of the state because of similar situations.
Yeah, so
This is an excellent point.
Like,
but the demographic was slightly different though.
Well, and accessory to murder too, right? Anybody who was plotting the commission of these crimes, who would say who was telling people to go and commit these crimes. Yeah.
There's a lot to be charged with. So, it's just a matter of whether or not, all of a sudden everybody wants to be like, oh, well, we should move past all this now because nah, bro.
Yeah, move past it once they're all locked up.
Yeah, exactly. Once they, he's locked up, she's locked up. All right, cool. Now we can let's keep it moving.
Wrench had something to say, and then after that, I wanted to get back to the flag thing for a second, but
yeah, I guess it was kind of tied into that too. Just wanted to also clarify that debating the legality of something in terms of your First Amendment rights should not be confused with debating whether something makes you an asshole, because I think we're all clear on the folks trotting out the Confederate flags. Clearly, that automatically makes you an asshole.
Well said.
Being an
Succinct.
asshole is not illegal.
I'd like to wait for 5 seconds to just watch the comments and just wait on that one. Just let it sit.
See where it goes.
Flag, Confederate flag in the Capitol.
Maybe we'll have
You're
some
an
discussion.
asshole. Wait for it. Just okay, because who knows? But the thing that I wanted to just come back to is like, I'm a little bit reminded of I don't know, like 1776, and you had the redcoats advancing in straight lines, and then you had the Minutemen doing guerrilla warfare, and just like over the course of history we've had going from clearly defined factions and nations and warring armies and everybody wearing uniforms and having flags, and then I felt like going into the 21st century we would be in this new scarier form of warfare where people don't have clearly established factions and sides and flags and uniforms, and you wouldn't be able to identify people just by looking at them, because you could just hide who you are and what you believe, and it would be a whole new battlefield. But then you have people who tattoo things on themselves and draw things on themselves and wear things and fly things. You know, that stuff hasn't gone away. And that's remarkable to me, because it would be, in this era, so easy to just not fly a Confederate flag and still do the whole same act, storm the Capitol and everything, no flag, right? So that suggests to me that there is empirically some kind of power, right? Some kind of utility even in the flag or the uniform or whatever. Like, there's a reason why people would choose in today to ally themselves, to, you know, brand themselves with some sort of icon like that. And I think it's important for us to really deeply consider all the complexity there. And, you know, you can make the general point, I think, Sleeves, that free speech, and I would respond to that with the general point of, yeah, I can legally burn, like, this flag that means something. You know, if my neighbor flies a Trump flag and then I buy a Trump flag and burn it outside my front yard, I can do that. I feel like it might make him angry. And I just, you know, sort of in a basic self-preservation instinct, I don't think I want to do that. Because I know these things mean something, and it's just been demonstrated, it's been proven that they do mean not just one thing, like a great many things, a lot of things. It's complex, and we'd have to get kind of nitty-gritty to find the line and say, like, where's the line? Where's the you know, Confederate flag at the Capitol line? But I think it's there. I think we could find it.
Yeah, I mean, it boils down to it really being a religious thing for them.
Yeah, you know, it's fair to compare something like that to religion. Yeah. I
mean, it really is. That's what it is. It's something they believe in.
It does
it's
feel
part of their belief system. They have their certain rules that they must practice in order to adhere to this particular belief system. And just like a religion, you can also passively practice it. I, for one, I have no problem with them having the flag. I'm actually a fan of people readily identifying themselves.
If
Because it allows me to make a decision about how they are to be dealt with.
Sure.
If someone announces themselves as an aggressor, it allows you to go ahead and prepare to defend yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that was my fear with, like, the idea that, like, I don't know, Klansmen just put their robes away and just running around in secret among everybody. But then, like, if they put the robes back on, like, it's pretty obvious.
Right. I mean, I'm a fan of them wearing the robes too. I mean, robes are flammable.
Yeah.
So I want to, you know, we are cautious about engaging with trolls in the comments, but I'm not gonna.
Trolls?
But they're in the YouTube comments.
Ooh,
we have found y'all's music yesterday and really liked it. Didn't realize y'all were fascist. Now I would like to read the Merriam-Webster definition of fascism, if I may, because I feel like there's been a lot of confusion about what this term actually means.
Yeah,
all right, but I will say only a fascist would do that, so
Thank you, Danjo. Yes, for sure. So fascism, a political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascisti, that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. So that was definition 1. Definition 2, a tendency toward or actual exercise of strong autocratic or dictatorial control. And other definitions also say specifically far right, but it doesn't, you know, depending on which way you look at it, it doesn't actually have to be that. I think this idea of exalting nation and often race above the individual, which, I mean, you know, in all honesty, you could do in communism too. I mean, poorly done, right? You know, in a communist totalitarian dictatorship, that would also happen. Centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader and forcible suppression of opposition. And that is what we're seeing advocated in what happened on the Capitol 2 days ago. You know, the idea that we need to have a particular leader who was not elected to that position, a forcible suppression of people who disagree with that idea, and exalting nation wrongly because they clearly don't understand the principles of the nation, and often race above the individual. So they claim to be individualists, perhaps, but that's not really what's happening here. If they were really individualists, they'd be going for one man, one vote, instead of, you know, saying that 74 million people were disenfranchised because 80 million people voted the other way.
Yeah, is the troll still there in the comments? Because you may be confusing fascism with anti-fascism. If you're still there, I don't know if you're still there.
And I know there has been some conversations about this with some of our fans lately, and the fact that there are different flavors of authoritarianism, none of which I think any of us subscribe to, but there also is the easy confusion of confusing tactics with ideology, and we may be in favor of suppressing some intolerant views, or or prosecuting people for advocating violence or advocating hatred, and to certain people that is that's enough to equate you in their eyes with a dictatorship. And if that's the level of your analysis, I don't know what to say to you.
And I would add to that if we don't spend like an hour and a half engaging with a single troll on the Merriam-Webster definition of fascism, I don't know if that's exactly the same as suppressing that person's viewpoint, although it could seem or feel that way. Like as though it was your right to be heard.
I mean, we don't know exactly what it was that set this person off to call us fascists. I'm assuming it was us advocating, arresting and prosecuting some people for
storming the Capitol.
I think it might have been the idea of charging people with treason for holding a Confederate flag on the steps, and the important piece about that,
the Capitol.
And we agree, you can't storm the Capitol and not get charged for that, and potentially including for treason, especially again for planting bombs in the Capitol. How is this not a bigger thing, as we have all talked about?
Showing up to the House of Representatives equipped with things like duct tape and zip ties and guns. I mean, I don't think they were there to throw a party.
That's right. Not the kind of party we would want. I don't like gallows at my party, personally.
When my people occupy a building, we're there to throw a party. We bring we bring banners.
We bring cookies.
And cookies.
Cookies, right?
Lots of cookies.
No kidding.
What do the banners say, though, Wrench? I'm serious. Like,
and we're gonna put those banners up with gaff tape or something else that is not environmentally destructive, like zip ties.
Gaffer tape.
But I mean, I do want to know though, like, what would that banner say? Because we are here kind of debating, the relative merits of different banners or flags or other sort of insignia or heraldry.
Right. I mean, I believe in being tactical. If you're going to occupy something, it should be to make specific demands about a policy that you want to be changed. So your banners is going to be, whoever is in power in the place that you're occupying is going to be, we're occupying here. Stop doing this thing that is hurting people. Like, whatever the issue is. If and it wasn't an occupation, but let's say when I got arrested at the Senate office building. Right, which was a matter of going to the Senate office building. We didn't storm it. We went through the metal detectors like all visitors, but then we sat down in front of Senate people's offices with things that said like, don't vote for this tax bill. right? As a way of putting pressure on the legislatures in the process of having the democracy work in a certain way.
And those are two very, very different things.
And you know what I like about this is that we've kind of maybe unintentionally gone into if I did it, like if I stormed the Capitol by Wrench, like what would you have done differently?
I would have stormed the Capitol. Yeah, and it's a good chance to point out, the false equivalency here that could easily be made between different protests, which are not the same.
Here. And if Wrench stormed the Capitol, he would have done it with an organization that would have gotten permission in advance for them to be in the rotunda. If people were going to get arrested, it would be something that was planned ahead of time, such that they're not. It's a very civil form of civil disobedience.
There'll be a question of what rules do we break to express our desire for this particular policy to be changed that are not felonies and are enough for us to get arrested in a statement making way without causing undue damage to people that are not our enemies.
Right.
Could
No
you
damage
talk
to people or property.
More about that, because honestly I feel like this is probably something that's unfamiliar. I mean, I would like to think that after this year a lot more people are sort of first time marchers or protesters, certainly with all the different actions across the country. But do you think you could just get into some of these real like targeted actions and just how much these are orderly? You're describing something that's not like the guy from Network saying I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I throw a trash can through a plate glass window and I just go express my rage. You're talking about something that's it sounds much more orderly, and I would love for you to just kind of explain a little bit more just on a basic level of what you're talking about.
Yeah, which is not to dog on people being spontaneous sometimes. That has its place. But for the most part, when you're trying to take on a policy or an unjust regime of policies or inequality, you want to have a specific target and a specific demand, a goal. If you're boycotting something, you want it to be, we're boycotting this particular bus company until they change their ridership policy to allow that. So we're boycotting the sponsors of this thing because we don't want them to sponsor it. If you're doing a direct action, you want to take it to something that will inconvenience or in some way, impact the person holding power that you're trying to get a message to say, there's a lot of people out here that feel like you should do X, Y, Z, and do it in a way that you want to generate press coverage, you want to generate discussion, and if possible, you want to generate some pressure, some leverage where the person you're targeting feels like maybe it is important for them to consider, doing things in a particular way because there will be, consequences of being unpopular or consequences of losing certain support that they have. So, for example, if you're doing a direct action, when I was, the last time I was getting arrested at the Senate office buildings, we know the rules. We know what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. So we know we can go in through the metal detectors and walk the hallways, but we know that you're not allowed to sit down and block an entrance to a room. And so we're choosing exactly what we're going to break in order to generate the situation where, the news is going to cover it more if people are arrested, if they're not. And certain people, can choose very clearly, like, here's the point at which if you feel you're able to get arrested and you want to do that, you're going to sit down here. And the police are going to say, you're not allowed to do that. If you keep doing that, we will arrest you. And then you say, okay, I'm keeping doing this now. And then the police say, okay, come with us. And then you say, okay, I'm coming with you now.
and this, by the way, you're describing something that's like, the way that plays out is kind of textbook, predictable, completely, legal and fair. And this is, sort of predictable process. Like, all right, you sit here and they'll tell you what's not allowed. Then they will say, here's what we're going to do if you keep doing it. Then they'll say, fine, we're going to do it. We told you, and then something safe happens to you and then you get out and you survive. And this obviously...
Technically, you wouldn't necessarily say legal. right? Because this may be about breaking a rule or a law, but
Right.
but this is important to make, and there's some great writing on this from Martin Luther King and others, that you're choosing to do this, and you're choosing to take the consequences.
Right.
You're saying,
right.
yes, I will get arrested for this. That is part of the plan.
Right.
If this is for trespassing, if this is for public nuisance, this is for the charges that I know it brings, that's the consequences that I'm willing to take on in order to promote this and put pressure on somebody.
Right, all the way down to, you sit here if you're willing to take that consequence. You
Mhm.
sit here if you're not willing to take a consequence.
Yeah.
So it's all very system. I mean, I wasn't trying to say what you're doing is legal. What you're doing is breaking the law intentionally, but you're doing so with the understanding that that's how the system is going to work. And so if somebody were to say, I'm getting arrested at a protest, the system is corrupt, that would be wrong, right? In this case, the system is that's the process for what you do when you break the law, and that's the system. In a sense, that's the system working, and you're doing something within the system to protest something else, but you're not protesting, I don't know, just like, police are inherently wrong for suppressing my protest. No, that's all part of it. And I guess I want to sort of compare that with if somebody were to do something like that and then get shot in the head.
Right. The consequences should be commensurate with what you should expect for breaking that particular rule.
Which, by the way, that's straight out of international law. The international law of war, proportionality is like one of the two key tenets to the international law of war. Right.
And so I would hope that nobody would look at that and say, well, that's not fair, right? Like, ideally, you go into it intentionally, and at least it's sort of...
And I will say this, that the Capitol Police have a lot of experience with people protesting. And they have a lot of experience with people doing direct action that's meant to express things and push for a certain policy change, right? Which this was different from in certain ways. And so they actually, for the most part, they're not angry at the protesters. When you're going in and doing a regular direct action, that's Tuesday for them. They're like, okay, we got these folks coming in. They'll sit down. We'll say you have to go. They'll say no. We'll take, then we'll put the zip ties on them and we'll take them to the van, to the holding cell. We'll process them. Then they'll get out and they'll go, to whatever they're doing next.
We'll get lunch.
Yeah.
And then we do it again.
Yeah. So in the case of my last couple arrests, the charge was incommoding, which basically means being in the way and preventing somebody from doing what they need to do. It was like the lowest charge that you could possibly do, which carried something like a $25 fine or something, right? So we all knew, like, going in, like, the charge is probably going to be something like this. Have your fine money on you, and you'll pay the fine, and there were people that, chipped in to sponsor people to be like, if you can't afford this, like, we'll help you with the fine if you want to get arrested.
And part of that probably also is make sure to not break any other laws while you're doing it. Don't, like, resist, don't do this, don't do that. Like, literally just do that one thing.
Don't loot a congressman's office.
Yes, in fact.
And steal their property and break the windows.
Steal classified documents.
French, what was that charge again? Incommoding? What?
Incommoding. Doesn't it sound like you were in a bathroom?
It's a charge of being a hot stepper.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Or something involving outhouses, it sounds like, but yeah, and absolutely true. You do not want to go there and start, committing other infractions that do not tie into your plan, because that will absolutely backfire on you, and it's not a good idea. So
it doesn't legitimize what you're doing.
It doesn't legitimize what you're doing. So you want discipline in order to knowing what you're there to do and what you're not there to do.
And discipline, I mean, you're just reminding me of, like, John Lewis and Martin Luther King, and, like, that was a huge word in SNCC and in those organization, right? Organization and discipline is really something that was huge. And I think, Dolio probably, if he goes off mute, will have more to say about COINTELPRO and kind of the systematic dismantling of that organization, which kind of goes on. But But yeah, I mean, organization and discipline are really key to making the difference between I'm going to go do stuff and we're actually going to accomplish something.
You know, the thing about that is you had to have organization and discipline to go against a machine that was in place to keep you down, right?
Yeah.
This machine is not in place for that. The biggest thing, the biggest issue I've had with a lot of this, and you know, you have to. I've made this point before.
Come on, y'all.
Hey,
we got a follower.
Hey, welcome Zarlek TV. Thank you, Poland.
I've made this point before. Like, some of these guys, not many of them, but some of them, you have to feel bad for, and for one particular reason. Their entire life is sort of this tunnel thing, right? And in this tunnel, it says that the reason why you're not able to achieve success or to whatever degree like you feel like you should is that all of these forces exist to keep you unsuccessful, and those forces are composed of various degrees of Judaism, feminism, some sort of degree of randomly powerful black and brown people that I don't know of. And that's why you're not able to succeed in the way that America says that you should, and that America is constantly showing you that people that look like you do, right? So the reason why you're still here is not because, you know, your senator has been, you know, ripping off your whole state and that's why you're 49th in education and everything else, but because the Jews control the media, and so they're not trying to show you what's good about America and have changed all your textbooks.
You know
right?
how many comments we've gotten on our YouTube about like, "Yo, you guys are great. You see, racism is a lie." You know, like it's a lie that the media perpetrates and all this stuff, and it's like, all right, we are great. Yes.
Yes, you're right about that part.
I'm going to stop you after that, though.
We need to
And
teach
so,
logic
you know,
in schools a lot more than
you
we
sort
do.
of- when you exist in this space, right, it's easy for the little bit of information that's coming to you to get you on that path, right? And, you know, if the only people you're ever talking to are your brother and the three guys from high school you hung out with and your cousin and your uncle, and that's the only, and those people are in that same tunnel, right? And then it's like, well, obviously I should be, you know, I should be Henry Ford and able to create my own blah, 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 and do this like America says I am able to, but I'm not because the man is keeping me down. And it's like, hold on, bro. Hold on a second. And so you have to, I personally feel bad for them. I feel very bad about that. And I feel terrible that a human being is stuck in that place. But I also am like, you probably have a phone, which means you've got access to the whole rest of the planet. Like, I know all the stuff that you're bringing in, right? I know all that stuff that you're bringing in. How about just for like 10 minutes a day, go a different direction? I don't need you to believe anything that I'm telling you or that Anderson Cooper is telling you or anybody else. But what I do need you to do is take the information in and then decide for yourself.
But that's hard, man. Belief systems is hard for people to even think about questioning. you know, and I feel bad for him because there's leaders and followers in this, you know, and you're talking about the followers, but the ones further up the multi-level marketing scheme, you know, those are the ones that are like Dolio says, you know, you're either like passively supporting this belief system or even more actively ginning people up and riling them up and getting them, you know, angry about pedophilia rings in basements that don't exist, you know. And it's terrible. I
Next
feel
thing you
bad
know, you're
for him
looking
too,
for
man.
your bicycle at the basement in the Alamo.
Oh, wow. Bring out the Pee Wee Herman reference right there.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But yeah, man, I feel bad for him too. You know, I think there's people being made to feel a lot of ways. You know, and it seems less about information. I mean, yeah, you address different people differently. Like the one person who seems to be coming at you with a lot of facts, you want to rebut them with facts that are actually correct. And then other people come at you, it seems like they're talking about facts, but really they're more coming from an emotional place. They're coming from that just like I'm just so angry, you know, or afraid or sad. I have this theory that like all conspiracy theories come from some form of just like unresolved grief. You know, you think about major disasters, you think about JFK, you think about 9/11, all the big conspiracy theories come out of, I just cannot believe that happened, and I cannot process it, and I refuse to believe anything, and I'm just going to be stuck in perpetual question mode. I mean, yeah, that can't possibly be true. There must be something else.
I believe that there is some research that backs up what you're saying, the sources of this stuff.
Yeah,
I've seen some really interesting in-depth looks at the psychology of believing certain things and how you decide what you consider as true. And yes, things that cause you enough discomfort, including grief, that really challenge your sense of belonging in the universe, will cause you to accept only the things that allow you to feel like there is control and there is some sense that you can make out of it.
Yeah, man, I'm with you, Randy. I feel so bad for a lot of these people. Of course, it can be hard to tell if everybody uses the same rhetoric. It can be hard to tell who is really suffering from that grief and who is there in sheep's clothing manipulating them.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people I really don't have a lot of mercy for.
And I feel like that's kind of how I feel about someone like Ted Cruz, who was a debater from whatever Ivy League school he went to in the debate circuit that I was in college, although he was much before my time. I never debated against him, but like that guy is an overprivileged, you know, he is not the person suffering from that grief that we're talking about. He's the person, you know, that Danjo's talking about who's manipulating the people who are feeling that. And that, I agree with you that is a much more severe, it's sort of like the difference between murder and manslaughter. Like either way you killed somebody, but in one case, you know, there were extenuating circumstances. Maybe you didn't really mean it. Maybe if you knew something different at the time, you might have done something differently versus just like, nah, I killed that motherfucker.
Well, it's also the difference between treason and sedition. I mean, while we're talking about that, right? So I just had it pulled up. No, that's the Chuck E. Cheese thing. Never mind. Sedition. So treason is just when you rise up against the government, and like maybe you could accuse a lot of those people there of treason. But sedition is conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. And for me, the real question is who in that crowd, who on QAnon who is really guilty of the sedition? You know, who brought them up? And that's where, you know, a second ago I was talking to Wrench about like, you know, just the kind of disorganized action where you're just mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. I mean, that's one thing. That's an angry person goes down the street and then probably ends up in jail or something. But that's not what this is. These people have been manipulated. And that is so much worse and less romantic than, you know, the Les Miserables, like, we're going to start a revolution spontaneously. It's just going to arise out of the primordial goo of America.
There's also something about this whole, hungering for a revolution situation that suggests an amount of comfort and, as they're talking about in the Facebook chat, a lack of learning of history and, not having a sense of being close enough to actual real tragedy, to, to kind of not have a grasp of what exactly it is that they're trying to bring about.
Yeah, I mean, you should meet people from Kosovo, if you haven't.
Or Rwanda.
Yeah.
Where we learned the hard way just how possible it is for, demagogues and talk show hosts to convince people to slaughter their neighbors, to slaughter families that their families have known for generations.
Yeah, and I got a lot of Rwandan homies that are both, Tutsis and Hutus.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're drinking buddies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also to say, feeling sorry for misled people aside, there's also the dichotomy of our no time for enemies stance, which is on the one hand people that are still debating with us, how to create an inclusive society. We don't have time to be considering each other enemies, but people that have stepped onto the side of like, we're going to overthrow this thing that's because we want it for us and we're feeling threatened, like, we're not going to unmanipulate these people, and we don't have time to be trying that. So we're just going to have to pass them, and create the next thing without them.
I don't know if I fully agree with that, though. I think a lot of what we do can take a, people who are firmly convinced of something. I'm not going to spend a long time and a lot of effort trying to firmly unconvince them, But then there's those people, I was saying this earlier, if we divide people into not just 2 groups, but 3 groups, and the one in the middle is, anybody who's fuck, man. I feel like this is the point where we're like, if you or someone is feeling unsafe, call this hotline or call this support group, or like, but for God's sake, like, if you're watching this right now and you came in like, man, I thought that these guys were a bunch of fascists, and now I'm seriously starting to reconsider my worldview, that's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about you. I'm actually talking about you, the person who's watching this right now. And that's a real thing that I don't ever lose sight of.
Yeah, and if you got a homie that's building pipe bombs, report their asses to the authorities.
But if you have a homie that's building pipe bombs, I don't know what that
Check
says
your
about
man.
you.
Yeah.
Then again, I had a friend who texted me yesterday.
Yo, dog, I just built these pipe bombs.
No, not that kind
Did you
of
see
friend.
that episode of Pin My Ride?
No.
What?
No. God. No.
I heard you like pipe bombs, so we put a pipe bomb in your pipe bomb.
God. No, I had a friend text me who said, man, I saw that list of people, because we've been identifying all these people that were at this assault on the Capitol. I saw that list, and I thought I recognized somebody, and I did recognize somebody, and it's somebody I used to work for, and and that person who texted me, that's a friend of mine, and like, because you do know people, like, we actually do all know each other. We're not as fragmented as it would be so easy to believe. It's so easy, man. Tucker Carlson was just talking about, we're all so fragmented, and increasingly we don't understand each other. And I think even contributing to that. Sorry, I should shut up.
No, you're right, man. I tell people all the time, like, look, I got people that I rep for, people that I know their heart, right? I know their heart as individuals.
Yeah.
But politically, our views are very different. And the one thing I'll say is that I'm fairly certain that on an individual level, I could sit down with somebody and be like, look, these things are facts, right? And these things are my opinions based on my existence and the existence of the people around me, and I've made a decision to make sure that the people around me is a much broader circle than the people that are around you. So if you and I both have a fact and you and I both have an opinion, but my opinion is based on my own experience and a broad circle of people that may include some of your people, and your opinion is based on your circle of people, you're not getting something. There's a vast amount of experience and knowledge that you're not getting. And if you choose to just not get that, then I'm sorry, but I'm in a better place. My argument is better because there's more meat to it, right? And should you continue to just stay in this place, you're not going to convince anybody with a broader swath of information and experience that yours is the right way. It's not going to happen.
Like the little two-dimensional guy in Flatland, right? The two-dimensional guy is trying to say like, no, it's all about squares. To the three-dimensional guy is like, no, man, it's cubes.
I don't know what Flatland is, but yes, exactly
Okay.
that. You know what I mean?
So two-dimensional dude talking to a three-dimensional.
Yeah. No,
I can't even understand.
I'll pass you my copy of Flatland soon.
Oh yeah, man.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. Like that's what we're talking about when we talk about diversity.
And unless you're able to get into that third dimension, I'm not saying that your two dimensions are irrelevant. But what I'm saying is you're missing out on a lot of information. Stacks of information as opposed to planes of information.
Yes.
And until you get stacks of information to go with your planes, the only thing that's going to happen is eventually the stacks are going to get built up on you. And you're down there on the plane like, why is anybody seeing what I'm saying? No, your plane is there. But you got to recognize the stacks, bruh. And if you're not going to get the stacks, it's a wrap for you.
That's the funny thing about dimensions, though. If you're a two-dimensional being, there's just no way you can conceive of what the third dimension is.
Except,
but that's not true.
You should read Flatland, because Flatland, Randy, is yeah. So Flatland, right? They actually the two-dimensional being considers a one-dimensional being and is like, wow, that's really interesting that this one-dimensional being only sees like it's just this one point, and they don't understand there's a whole big plane of stuff. You know, you're actually a line. You know. And then they're like, I wonder what three dimensions would be like. Well, that's ridiculous. Guess that'll never happen. And then he has a dream where he's visited by a sphere. So actually it uses the analogy, which kind of gets back to Plato's cave. It's not like I understand something and you don't, and so I know things and you don't know things. Everybody is on that continuum of knowledge and discovery. I just might know something that you don't know, but like we can all progress.
Speaking of getting exposed to knowledge that you may not have the chance to be exposed to, I would like to put a plug in now for awareness about the effectiveness of nonviolent action, not as a moral stance, but as an actually best practice way to do things if you're trying to change policies or regimes, and just let people know that it in fact has been researched, and I highly recommend. You can watch a TED Talk by Erica Chenoweth, who was one of the major researchers on this, to actually define it and study all of the overthrows of regimes and policies that have happened in the 20th century, ones that were armed uprisings and ones that were nonviolent uprisings. And the nonviolent uprisings had a higher success rate. It's covered very well in this book, This is an Uprising by Mark and Paul Engler, which I highly recommend. Leaving the guns and stuff out of the equation actually gives you a higher probability of achieving success at changing policies and regimes in the 21st century.
That's a great point. I mean, that's a really great point. And when you think about what happened at the Capitol, and you think if instead of storming the Capitol and being violent and people dying, a bunch of people had basically had a kind of, I feel like I might be misusing this term, love-in, but like, where that people were just hanging out and singing songs, and and the world news covered that people were singing out peacefully out in front of the Capitol, and holding banners that said, I love America, we're all in this together, stuff like that. That, I don't know how many additional supporters they might have gotten, but I feel like they would not have lost quite so many. I do feel like this drove people away from them. Not as many as I would have liked, but some.
Yeah, but it's difficult to expect that type of behavior in favor of the movement that they were trying to sustain.
Yes.
Based upon the motivation of what it wasn't necessarily that they were even supporting a movement of any magnitude. It was really more supporting the whims and ego of a person.
Right, because this I believe is not actually a movement to topple an oppressive regime.
It's a movement to become an oppressive
It
regime.
may
Right.
be conceived by some people as such. I
It's a
think they're
movement to
doing that
sustain
on
oppressive regime.
incorrect premises.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and we can sort of equate it. I like to think of it as a multi-level marketing scheme, because the way that it's marketed from a mid-level person down to a low-level person is different than the way it's understood to really, like, the high-level person has all the money flowing up to them. And I mean, this actually, it's an analogy that works for political power, but ultimately it comes down to money. A lot of this stuff does. So it's not even really an analogy. It just is a multi-level marketing scheme where the mid-level person is telling the low-level person what this is a revolution, and we're going to topple the regime. So what you need to do is go get 10 of your friends and tell them that, and then we'll have a revolution and we'll topple the regime.
Not to mention donate to our election.
By the way, if you could donate $20, even though like it's not even a re-election fund anymore, now it's just more transparently, give me money. It's the Give Me Money Club, which
Right now it's a legal fund.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
That's
the
right.
Keep Me Out of Jail fund.
yeah.
That's right.
Now might
Help
be a
me
nice time.
help me pay back the $850+ million that I owe to some anonymous debt.
Can I frame this as kind of like a gun buyback program? If you're out there right now and you're considering giving money to the Donald Trump Keep Me Out of Prison Fund, why don't you consider taking that $20 a month or whatever it is and simply just give it a gentle reroute and put it over towards a program we like to call the Barnstormers. What we do with the Barnstormers is not really clearly established. We just kind of do fuck all with it. But what we
I'm a
do
6-foot axe wielding lumberjack at the top of the tree.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, we don't use it to pay our legal fees to keep us out of jail because of our treasonous and seditious acts. We don't do that, and that's the Gangstagrass guarantee. Everything else is kind of a crapshoot. But
I use it
please
to
take
make a
that
whole
money
bunch
and
of
give to
these.
us. There we go.
That's
what
right.
Dolio's been doing.
I've been
Right.
making a bunch of these.
Show the people, Dolio.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are spacers for masks. It allows you to breathe more easily. When they print out flat, and then when you connect them with their little tabs and stuff, they fold up like this, and you place it on the inside of your mask. This little section actually goes under your nose, so that it actually keeps your nose unobstructed. You can
no
breathe
way.
freely, and it gives you enough space to talk without sounding like a mush mouth.
Right. You're
Oh,
not
man, I thought
sucking
they
the
went on
mask
back
in.
that
The
thing.
mask
You're
still
saying-
goes over your nose. Just want to
Yeah,
make
the mask still
Yes.
goes, the mask still goes over your nose. It just this keeps it from going in your nose.
Yeah, brief PSA. If the mask isn't covering your nose and you're a person who breathes through your nose, not everyone does, but if you do, and there's an easy way to tell. Close your mouth and see if you die. So you're breathing through your nose. So just you got to put the mask over the nose. That's my
That's
Leslie
how I
Jones.
found out that I don't breathe through my nose. Is
Yeah.
I taped it shut and I went to bed, and I woke up dead.
I, you know, I don't like to joke about death,
No.
You're here.
and this whole thing that happened at the Capitol yesterday, whatever day, is there.
Don't even go there, man.
Go there.
No,
Go there.
No.
Go
After
there.
we go off the stream.
Go
After we go off
there.
the stream.
Okay, we'll do.
We'll-
We'll. Should we do this in the bonus content on Twitch after?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Put it on Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen is in a few minutes we're gonna cut the Facebook stream, we're gonna cut the YouTube stream, and we're all just gonna hang out on Twitch at
Really talk about our
gangstagrass.tv.
fascism.
And yeah, that's when we really get into it.
And there was
Oh,
there's a couple of
fascisty.
questions that were asked, I think, in the YouTube that.
Yes.
they wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
address
yeah.
Before we go over to Twitch.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to Undercover Tourist. Asked us what our hobbies were.
Talking about this shit.
Yes, what hobbies the band members have. I don't know if you can see behind me, but that stuff. I'm a comic book guy and a huge Superman fan, so that's
Somebody
Oh,
asked me
that's
recently
not-
what my hobbies are, and outside of music, and I was just like, yeah, my hobbies are more music. What does it look like I do? Come
Yeah.
on, man.
There's a lot of that going on here too. I do a lot of creating, a lot of building things, gadgets, machines, a lot of baking, a lot of gardening, and actually I've been doing a lot of sewing lately too.
So cool. Yeah. It's a widely talented bunch. You know, Dolio went from pandemic bagels to making mask spacers on the 3D printer so that everybody can breathe more easily, and also rap and sing while wearing a mask with much more ease.
Yeah, and over the course of the next month or so, I'll be making Beskar armor for everybody in my family. So by the time we go for Halloween, we'll have a whole fleet of Mandalorians.
I want that so much.
Excuse me,
Turn out-
a covert of Mandalorians.
well done.
Does turn out we are a bunch of nerds, for
Yeah.
sure.
Especially because my son told me he wanted me to make him a Darksaber.
It's awesome.
So
This is the way.
Definitely the way. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I don't-
like that.
I don't want to transition from this into laughing about how somebody died in a way that when you think about it later is kind of amusing. Only because I feel like we've, the reason why Randy led with I don't like to joke about death is because, it takes us down like a potentially not the greatest road. I think
We don't celebrate it.
No.
I think our country in general, if we look at like what's the real problem with like police brutality, I mean it trivializes life, and that's been in the public eye for the last 5 years, 4, 3, 2, 6. I'm trying to remember what 2012, 2013, for many years now we've really been having this conversation about,
We're gradually more public and in the
Yeah.
less public eye for many generations.
absolutely, but it's always been there, and and even as it's been in the public eye, we still have people, somebody will kill somebody and leave their body in the street and make up a funny song about how they died, and that's
I'm
That's,
sorry
that's
about that.
what's that?
I apologize for that one.
There you go. No, I don't know. It's a line I don't think I personally want to cross.
I do have one more thing, and
Yeah.
this is probably the most important question to ask in
Take us home, Mark.
2021.
Take us home.
Who's going to be the new host of Jeopardy?
I'm really pulling for LeVar Burton. I mean,
That's-
I'm down for Ken Jennings, but I really am pulling for LeVar Burton.
yeah, it's definitely we're pulling for LeVar Burton.
Yeah. Team LeVar.
Yeah, although a buddy of mine, because I posted this on Facebook, buddy of mine had a great answer out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Danica McClellar.
No.
The race car? No, Danica Patrick.
No, Danica McClellar was the young lady that played Winnie Cooper.
Oh yeah, the
She's
mathematician.
like a mathematician that's written several books and like super genius.
Yeah, I'd rather see her on a show about math.
Yeah, exactly. She should do a show about math. Give me LeVar on Jeopardy.
Yeah, because reading is a good source of information that you would get to answer a lot of these trivia questions.
I was all Ken Jennings 1,000%, and then I saw somebody say LeVar. I was like, ooh.
She's like, yeah, instant convinced.
I think
I saw
And I feel like
LeVar.
we don't have enough shows about math.
I saw LeVar, and I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay.
Yep.
all right.
Yeah, I don't think I want to see him as a game show host either.
Yeah, he's got
And-
too much else to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and tell you the truth, I've had it up to here with game show hosts over the past 4 years.
I think we need to get. I think we should actually get Jesse Jackson doing the questions moot host thing on. So we can just tell everybody the question is moot.
I get the car.
Oh my God.
Wait, what? Oh, no.
This is an amazing Saturday Night Live skit from decades ago.
Yeah,
That was fantastic.
yeah.
You know
LeVar
what?
Burton
Yeah,
is
you know what I
the
think-
answer.
You know who I really think should be the host? Bob Goldthwait.
I was about to say Bobcat Goldthwait.
No!
Really?
Oh, God,
That was
no.
the
You
second
might as well
half of
have
my
Gilbert
sentence.
Gottfried.
LeVar Burton is the serious answer, but I'm not against going crazy with it. And Bobcat Goldthwait would be very fun.
I've seen
Oh.
Bobcat Goldthwait. I've seen Gilbert Godfrey.
Either him or Emo Phillips.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for following. And big ups again to Martin for that donation. That ruled.
Yeah.
We love donations, and we super love it when people go over to gangstagrass.com/barnstormers and join the club. There's tons of content, so by all means donate. But if you also would like to get content for your donation, then gangstagrass.com/barnstormers. There's tons of awesome goodies there, and we're about to release a new pack, so get in.
I want to see Eric Andre.
I don't know who that is.
Like
Who
his
is that?
contract stipulates he has to actually take it seriously. Like he has to do the job, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I
have to
don't
take
know
it
if we
seriously.
could trust him to keep his pants on.
I'm for no pants Jeopardy.
Well, you wouldn't know. They're
That'd be
standing
Jeopardy
behind
after
those
dark.
things.
I did just see an episode of they were showing clips of Alex Trebek, and there was an episode where he walked out with no pants on. He had his jacket and his shoes and socks on, but no pants for whatever reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but God
On
bless him.
shirt, cocking it, hanging out.
When it come out like Winnie the Pooh.
We
Oh,
sure
yeah,
this
yo,
was
his
not a
costume game was no joke.
deep fake. We totally sure this was not a
That's,
deep fake.
you know what's no evolutionarily like deep. No one would deep fake that. I don't believe no one would take the time to create that. I don't think.
Nah, man, that was full. It was full Trebek.
So it's been fun, guys, on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks for chilling with us. We're going to hang out a little bit longer at gangstagrass.tv. And so rock and roll. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully we've got some good thoughts rolling around in people's heads, and we appreciate people chiming in. Really good discussion in the chat. Good
We're
question.
not fascists. Wear your mask over your nose. One time, Alex Trebek did not wear pants.
Brush your teeth.
Oh, and Sue's I'm not actually selling them, but if you want one, I'll send you one.
Aw, that's so nice. So yeah, everybody on the Facebook.
Yet.
Yes, they're going to be at the merch table when there's a merch table again.
All right,
So yeah,
save it for the
everybody
after hours.
who's in the Facebook and the YouTube, those streams are about to stop. Come on over to gangstagrass.tv and join us, and we will tell you the story that we stopped our son from telling you earlier.
Uh-oh.